I talk about this all the time because I think that consistency is extremely important. But one thing about consistency that I think that people kind of mess up on is if you're consistently stagnant or consistently doing the same thing over and over again, that's not productive. Like, I think the thing about consistency is that you should be showing growth. What's up, world? It's your boy, Jaron Ikner, back again for another episode of the Polyartist podcast. This podcast is for multifaceted, multi-talented artists who work in different fields and different lanes and might need a little bit of guidance and understanding as how to navigate all that because it can get kind of crazy. Today's episode is no exception. We're going to talk about something that's very important to being a polyartist, and that's keeping the creative fire burning, keeping yourself inspired, keeping yourself going and motivated with new creative ideas, and keeping that candle lit, because oftentimes as polyartists, we spread ourselves kind of thin and our creative energy can get really spread out to the point where it's like, you kind of don't want to do anything. I deal with this a lot. I try to find balance in everything that I do. And really what it comes down to is navigating it in a way that is beneficial to everybody involved, including yourself, and not dampening the creative flame. So it's whether you're balancing, music, writing, filmmaking, painting, or all of them at once, staying inspired can be a really big challenge. It's hard to stay motivated. But today, we're going to talk about some strategies that will help you stay on top of your creative game when your well runs dry. And like I said before, this episode really runs particularly close to my heart because, I grind hard. And I've hit those walls many, many times where I've just been drained and I just been like, oh man. So yeah, I'm mostly here to remind you that you're not on this journey alone. It's a very difficult run to navigate as a polyartist, and hopefully these things will help you kind of get some more insight on how to navigate your world, because every experience is unique. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Staying motivated is tough when you're balancing so many creative pursuits. And as a polyartist, it's really easy to feel like you're pulled in different directions. And you might start working on painting, but halfway through you're thinking, man, I haven't finished this song yet. Or, man, I got to finish this edit. Or, oh no, I got this story I got to put out. And your brain starts to feel kind of stretched out. I mean, does that sound familiar to you guys? The more projects and ideas that you juggle, the more overwhelmed you feel. This is just common sense. Research shows that creators who engage in multiple disciplines tend to face higher rates of burnout. But here's the thing, being a multi-talented artist is also a gift. It gives you a deep well of inspiration to draw from. And you just need to learn how you can navigate that creative energy. So the question is, how do we stay motivated without feeling overwhelmed? Well, let's go over some tips. Let's actually break this down into something that actually makes sense. I think tip number one is setting clear and measurable goals. And, this is pretty obvious, but goals are everything. And setting clear, achievable goals can dramatically change how motivated you feel towards a project. Instead of saying, oh, I need to work on some music, maybe put something more specific down, like, oh, I'm going to complete this song, or I'm going to write this verse, or I'm going to do this beat, or I'm going to do this part of this song by this point in time. So you set a really specific goal, and then you set a very specific deadline. So I'm going to get this song done by Friday. And you write that down, or you put it in your calendar, or you put it in your mental bank, and you follow through with that task. By doing that, it makes things a lot more clear and concise and gives you a goal that makes it easier for you to achieve. It's been proven that when you set a specific and measurable goal, your brain is wired to seek out that feeling of accomplishment. It's like giving yourself a mini reward along the way, which feels much better and keeps you motivated and keeps the high going. I personally love breaking my goals down into weekly or even daily tasks. This way, even on those days I feel less inspired, I can still move forward. Remember, small progress is still progress. So if I have a big project, which I'm always working on a big project, chipping away at that project, like, hey, I'm just going to edit this one scene, or hey, I'm just going to work on this beat for this album, or hey, I'm going to write this 2 pages for this script, or I'm going to edit a couple of photos. Just breaking it down into chunks and just setting those benchmarks makes things so much more manageable. So much more manageable. So consider that when you're moving forward in everything you're doing. Tip 2 is embracing inspiration from unexpected places. So let's talk about inspiration for a bit. One of the best ways to keep your creativity flowing is seeking out inspiration from unexpected sources. Sure, it's great to be inspired by your favorite artist, but sometimes you got to shake some things up a little bit. Try stepping outside of your usual environment. Take a walk, go to a gallery, listen to music from a genre you haven't been exposed to before. Exposure to new experiences stimulates your brain and can reignite the creative spark and keep you focused. If you're a filmmaker, watch a dance performance. If you're a musician, try painting for a day. The point is, engaging in different sensory experiences can unlock new ideas and perspectives. And this is something that I had to learn really early on in my career, is that I get most of my inspiration from weird sources, and I'll integrate those sources deep into the lore and the process of my production. Even my last album that I put out, Under Umbras, was inspired by Homer's Odyssey, book 11 of the Homer's Odyssey. I just happened to come across this text and learn about the Odyssey. I didn't even know how I came across it, but when I read that, it sparked this thing in my brain where I'm like, oh man, I'm going to kind of make an album loosely based on this concept because it resonates with me. That really matches my story, really matches my energy. It really matched where I was at that time in my life. And it's just like, this is perfect. So I often encourage artists to like really step outside the box. Like if your favorite artist is Jay-Z, sure, you should listen to a bunch of Jay-Z and maybe study what he listens to as well. But part of it is kind of understanding that Jay-Z has crazy inspiration. You know, Basquiat comes to mind. He's a very big Basquiat fan to where, you know, he buys all his art. He even try to look like him a little bit with his hairstyle. But that's such a unorthodox and different source of inspiration that he integrated really deeply into his album 444. And it's one of those things where like going to the art gallery and looking at some historical paintings or even modern paintings and just really understanding the process of how these artists created it, or maybe it just looks cool and it gives you a vibe that sparks something in your brain, you'd be really surprised how often I get inspired by things that you wouldn't necessarily you think would be inspirational. Like going to the mall and seeing particular signs designed a certain way with certain fonts, or even going to a Chinese restaurant and seeing how they arrange their lights. Things like that will spark little seeds in my head that grow into really big, big plants. It's happened time and time again. Once again, as a polyartist, it's very important to always drink water. Water is the lifeblood of all of us. We're literally like 60%, 70% water. Fact check me on that. I don't know. But we're mostly water and we're controlled by water. So it's important to stay hydrated and keep your brain going because that's what water does. I'm also going to take my little bit of a secret formula here. This stuff right here is Magic Mind. It's a really incredible productivity drink. And as I said before, I'm not the type to really like shill products on the people or even like really do sponsorships like this. It's like not a vibe for me. But when they reached out to me, they were like, hey, you know, we got this really cool drink and what you're doing, I think your audience will really appreciate. And I tried it and the results hit me immediately. Like the way that this kind of takes over your brain and makes you lock in with great focus. It's incredible, man. They have all kinds of good stuff in there from vitamin B12, ashwagandha, lion's mane mushrooms, and all these things that really help you lock in and focus on like for hours, like several hours. Like I'll take this right now and I'll probably be able to edit this video and maybe write the next episode easily, just focusing locked in. As long as I don't get any interruptions, we're getting a bunch of stuff done the second that we start drinking this. And that's what's really incredible about it. And so, like I said, I teamed up with Magic Mind to kind of give you guys this drink because I want all my friends and all my supporters and all my people who are watching this to at least try it, because especially as we get older and we're trying to navigate a world that gets kind of crazier and gets more distracting with social media and all this stuff, it's really good to have something that, you know, helps you kind of lock in a little bit, like a bit of a cheat code. So here's what I'm going to do for you guys. I went ahead and teamed up with Magic Mind, and we decided to go ahead and give you this 20% off any one-time purchase or subscription to Magic Mind to give you a chance to really try it out and see if you like it. So if you head over to magicmind.com/JARON20, you can go ahead and get that 20% off discount. I will go ahead and put that link in the description. Go check it out, guys. I'm telling you, it's dope. So, shout out to Magic Mind for getting us involved because, like I said, I'm trying to reach new people, reach new minds, and really do something different. And like I said, for the Polyartist podcast, it kind of makes sense because it's all about focus and locking in. So hit the link, just keep it going. Tip number 3 is actually pretty critical. And I think like a lot of polyartists have problems with this particular one because of how chaotic their life can be. And that's about keeping a routine, keeping a creative routine, but a routine nonetheless. And creativity, it might seem spontaneous, but having a regular routine can really, really, really help you stay productive. And this is whether you're sitting aside for the first hour of your day, just writing or scheduling, or spending 2 evenings a week dedicated to painting. Routines really help train your brain to expect creative work. So you're basically like kind of conditioning your mind to be prepared for creative time. And me personally, I do this all the time. The last 2 hours of every day, unless I'm exhausted or I just want to spend some quality time with my wife and my family, the last 2 hours of every day are literally locked off for creative time. Now that creative time can range from making beats, it can range from, coding a video game, which is what I'm working on right now, or working on some short stories, or recording a song, etc., so forth. Those last 2 hours are always dedicated towards creative time. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't be creative outside of those times. Like I might wake up in the morning, decide to record or work on whatever. And my job is in the creative business. So I'm obviously doing stuff that's creative pretty much all the time. But that creative time at the end of the day is more like passion projects and the things that I really, really, really want to work on. Like I'm not working on stuff for clients at that point. I'm not doing anything that I know is like even monetarily focused. It's more just the stuff that my heart really wants to work on. That if I don't work on, it's going to make me depressed or make me sad and get me all emotional. So every single night, the last 2 hours every night, I'll just work on something cool. Like I said, I'm working on a video game right now. I'm learning how to code and work on this video game that hopefully I can get out within the next 6 months or so. But that's makes me feel like I'm using my creative energy the way that it's intended, not just for a check or because someone's paying me to do something. It also eliminates procrastination because it takes the guesswork out of when you're going to work on stuff. Some days the routine itself will inspire you, but other days it's more about just showing up. And remember, the more consistent you are, the easier it becomes to slip into a creative flow. And I talk about this all the time because I think that consistency is extremely important. But one thing about consistency that I think that people kind of mess up on is if you're consistently stagnant or consistently doing the same thing over and over again, that's not productive. Like I think the thing about consistency is that you should be showing growth. Like even if you just push yourself a little bit more each time that you do it and you do something that's a little bit better each time, then you're showing growth. But consistently doing crap over and over again is worse than being inspired randomly. So keep that in mind when it comes to being consistent. There's no point in being consistent if you're not going to grow. So show growth, show progress, and do all that. Tip number 4 is connect with a creative community. Isolation is another major challenge, especially if you're a poly artist who works across different disciplines. I've been there when you feel like no one really gets what you do because you're just not a musician, you're not just a writer, you're somewhere in the middle or somewhere on the other side of the box. And this is where connecting with other creatives becomes super essential. Find your tribe, whether it's an online community, attending workshops, collaborating with artists. Not only does it help you stay inspired, but it helps you get feedback and insights and different perspectives on things that you may not have seen from that perspective. And for me, I think communities is one of the most important things that you can do and be a part of as an artist, because they're going to be the ones that actually go to your shows. They're going to be the ones that actually support your art. They're going to be the ones that actually give you feedback on your stuff. And these are the people that you want in your circle, especially if they're in whatever lane, like other filmmakers, other writers, other graphic designers. And they might have some cool ideas and cool tricks and cool ways to navigate their field that you haven't necessarily heard of. You know what I'm saying? So it's always good to be able to like have a community that you can tap into, because if not, like doing it on your own is very, very difficult. And this is speaking from experience. And I realized that some of my best ideas have come out of casual conversations with other creatives while they're out there doing completely different things. So don't like underestimate the power of community, because I might go to First Friday and see a breakdancer and just be inspired. And that goes back to the other tip about having inspiration from unlikely sources, because a lot of these artists, every single artist has a different perspective on the world. And so just having a conversation with them about their life or just what they have going on might allow you to see things a little bit differently, where you're like, oh man, maybe I should try this instead because of whatever conversation you had. And the last tip is actually a very, very important tip, probably the most critical, and that's focus on your mental and physical health. So we cannot forget about self-care, people. Your creativity depends on your mental and physical well-being. If you're burnt out or exhausted, it's going to show in your work. So make sure you get enough sleep, exercise regularly, practice mindfulness. And this is really, really crucial because just taking a few minutes to clear my head allows me to reset my approach and work with fresh eyes. And remember, the more you take care of yourself, the better your creative energy will be when it comes to your output. And this is something that I deal with all the time, where it's like, sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be like, I'm going to work on 5 different projects today. I'm going to edit this video. I'm going to record this podcast. I'm going to go write this script. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. And I'll only get one thing done. But the thing about it is that when I look back at it, it's like, I got that one thing done. And that's good. To be able to push myself to get all 5 of those things done in one day, I could do that, but it's going to stress me out. It's going to raise my cortisol levels. It's going to make me feel like I'm under pressure. And I think one of the most important things about being a polyartist is that this is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be enjoying this process. So one of the best ways to enjoy the process is to literally stop, take a moment, smell the flowers, appreciate this gift that you have and this talent that you have, and use it in a way that serves you as well. Because one thing I always tell other artists all the time is that being an artist is a service position. You are serving the people with the art, entertainment, and all the other things that come with being an artist. And oftentimes that gets underappreciated because I feel that from the perspective of the consumer, artists are very self-driven. They're very inward, as we have to be, but they don't see it as a service position. But you are giving your all and your creativity to the world. That's a service. And so you should need to kind of treat it as such, almost as though you're running a restaurant or that you're a bartender. You have to provide good service to your people. And the best way to provide good service is if you're treating yourself right, because I think about when I used to serve tables back in the day over at Tejas or wherever the different restaurants I was at. It became a thing where if I'm in a bad mood, I can put on a fake smile. Sure, I can pretend that I'm in a good mood, but it kind of showed. And it kind of affected the tips a little bit, to where if I was cheery and in a great mood and bouncing off the walls and doing this and that and just on point with the service, the tips were a little bit higher than if I was moody, or if I didn't get enough sleep the night before, or if I didn't drink enough water, or drink a Magic Mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't do these things and put myself in a state of focus that shows that I care about my job, it shows, and it really does affect the people who are receiving the service. And it will clearly affect the way that you make money and how you navigate this journey as an artist. So it's just things to consider. So there you have it. There are 5 ways to stay motivated and inspired as a poly artist. And it's not always easy, but with the right mindset and strategies, you can keep moving forward, even when it feels difficult. Remember, being a poly artist is a gift, and you have a unique ability to blend different art forms into something that is truly magical. So thank you for listening to the Polyartist podcast. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, wherever you're listening to. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we appreciate you. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. And if you're new here, please hit the subscription button. It means the world to me. We are trying to get our numbers up on here so we can keep giving you cool stuff like this. So until next time, this is your boy, Jaron Ikner. Peace out. Keep creating, y'all. Take care.